I recently came across the story of Bernard Green, who went on to be General Secretary of the Baptist Union in the 1980s. Bernard Green turned 18 in 1944, and given his particular beliefs, decided to register as a conscientious objector. Having done so, he had to face a tribunal. When Green offered his willingness to serve in the medical corps, the chairman of the tribunal, who Green later discovered to be a Christian, said, "Well, you'll kill germs, won't you? What's the difference between germs and Germans?" Green's response was, "Well, Germans happen to be people." Whatever one may think of Bernard Green's pacifism, I think there's something in his answer to that tribunal which may be instructive for us all. Well, Germans happen to be people. People. Personhood is a critical concept for us to have in mind on Remembrance Sunday. It's so easy for us to get lost in the scale of numbers, the statistics of the fallen, which amount to millions. But behind every one of those numbers is a person, a son, a husband, a father, a daughter, a wife, a mother. Behind every one of those numbers is a story, a life, a personality, an enfleshed existence. Knowledge of this should perhaps give us pause. If we are thinking not of numbers, but of people, particularly as people of faith, if we stop and think not of numbers, but of people made in God's image, it may cause us to stop and think about our attitudes and our behaviour, about the ways in which we choose to remember, and about the ways in which we live our lives as acts of remembrance. It may also give us cause, once personhood impinges on our thinking, to be more inclusive about who we remember this day. That's because war is so wide-ranging in who it affects, in how many individual stories it rewrites. The stories rewritten include those of the people who died on battlefields, the people who mourn for the ones who never returned, those unable to forgive, as well as those people like Bernard Green who refuse to fight on grounds of conscience. Then there are all those whose stories are unaffected as yet, those for whom war is merely history, but who need to learn its true cost and horror if the mistakes of the past are not to be repeated. All those we remember this day, in Bernard Green's phrase, happen to be people. Of course, it is vital that we remember the centrality of personhood, that individual stories matter and should be remembered, not just for Remembrance Sunday, but for other parts of our lives too. May we hold in our minds that behind every COVID statistic lies a human story which in turn impacts on other human stories. May we hold in our hearts and minds that behind every migrant statistic lies a human story, which in turn impacts on other human stories. And may we hold in our hearts and minds that at the heart of the Christian faith is the story of personhood, the God with us story of Jesus Christ, embracing, hallowing, valuing human life in a way which challenges us to value all human life too. Amen.